Howdy. Welcome to my runcast. So there are two things I want to talk about. I'm hoping I remember both of them because sometimes I don't. So I just fought in Buriram. It was great. Fight 282. It's a rematch against Petnam, who I fought for fight 280 also. In the first fight, I won by decision and I split my shin open. And it split twice. So it split in that fight and then it split in my next one. And so I took a lot of time off of no fighting. I was still training and kicking and stuff, but no fighting between fight 281 and 282 to let my shin really heal up. And it was kind of I was kind of nervous about, is this just going to be a persistent problem kind of thing? And I think I blocked one kick and then ended up winning by TKO. So it was not an issue kind of thing. So now I actually still don't know how good that shin is in terms of blocking. I blocked once, so I guess it's okay. On our way down, we usually, for the past couple of times I've gone up to Buriram for fights, we've stopped at Tor Silachai gym and we did a session with Ajahn Metprik, and then we did a session with Tong Chai, Tor Silachai, who's Fighter of the Year in 2001. It's incredible. When we went there to film with Tong Chai, we forgot to bring our 1-2-3 book, which is so bad. We just totally forgot to bring it. And he's in it, so we wanted him to sign it. So I've been going through these old Muay Thai magazines. If you guys follow my runcast, you know this stuff, this spiel. But on the back cover of one of my Muay Thai's from 97, 98, something like this, but right around when Tong Chai would be getting close to having his Fighter of the Year. He'd been fighting for a long time before that. He has a very, very long career. 2001 was by no means the peak of his career. But on the back cover was a whole biography story of Ajahn Metprik. So it had a picture of him with his Lumpini belt in 1970, old photo. And then it had a picture of him standing in the corner of the ring, probably cornering for Tong Chai, but maybe just one of his fighters, looking very nice and handsome. And then it had his whole biography that was he was Lumpini champion and now he trains other champions. He has many champions from his gym, wonderful. When I'm going through these magazines, I'll take a picture of what I'm looking at and I'll send it to the person because I know all of these people who I'm finding these things at, and I'm very excited. So I sent a photo of when Samart had very, very long rocker hair. I sent it to his girlfriend. I was this was an excellent style. So sometimes it's just sharing or whatever, but sometimes it's oh look, here's a whole centerfold spread of Pet To and Pet Ek, the twins from Sit Jiao Po, this kind of thing. I sent a page that was about Joe Hong Tong. He got excited, he shared it twice now, and this makes me so happy. Twice now, things that I've sent to the fighters or trainers or whoever they are, they've then, after a while, meaning they sat on it for a while, they've shared it to Facebook with stories or with a post about that thing that I sent. So Ajahn Yai, who was a trainer at Sor Plunjit, I sent him a photo where he was backstage after his fighter had just won. And he posted it telling this story about how everyone at the gym was looking down on this fighter and they didn't think that he could beat the guy who he was supposed to be fighting. And so Ajahn Yai got kind of mad at everybody. He's I'll train him my fucking self. And so he trained him himself, and this guy won against a fighter who everyone in the gym was Sumai Dai, he's not even able to fight this guy. I was what an awesome story that never would have come out if he hadn't seen this photo, which is just in some back of some magazine that I found. And he was just reminded of it by seeing it. And then Tuck Rolek, who I've talked about a couple of times, brilliant, from the Dejrat gym, in a runcast prior, I've talked about this political cartoon that I was trying to figure out, and I sent it to him to be can you help me understand this political cartoon? He ended up using that weeks later to talk about how upset he is that this year the Sports Writers Association awarded no Fighter of the Year. And so he's using these political cartoons from literally at least 24, maybe 26 years ago. It's amazing. This has been a problem for a long time. But anyway, that's a lot of talking to explain that I found this back cover that had Ajahn Metprik on it. And so we wanted to get the book signed by Tong Chai. And so I was oh, well, I'll make a beautiful framed photo of this back cover and give it to Ajahn Metprik because he doesn't have it at his gym. And we'll do a two birds with one stone. It ended up being that Tong Chai, who he works in a field now, he's not a Muay Thai teacher. Sunday might be his only day off, or it might not even be a day off. He wasn't able to come and we weren't able to like go find him to sign the book, so that's been pushed to hopefully another visit. But we stopped by the gym to give Ajahn Medprick this framed photo, and it was so sweet. His adult son was there. He greeted us. He went and he got his dad. We all went and sat down. He's like taking photos of it, and we're like talking about it. He wanted to look through the magazine, like see what else was in there. And as we were walking back to the car, because we had to drive back to Pattaya, so it was a very quick visit because we had a lot of road in front of us. We really just wanted to like drop it off, and I had him sign the magazine copy for me so that I can laminate it and stick it in the 1, 2, 3 book, because he's not in it, but I think he should be in it. So as we were walking back to the car, the way he was like holding the frame was so, like, you can tell by the way people hold things or carry something, like the value that they have in it. And he was holding it like it was this really precious thing. And it kind of made me almost want to cry. It was really beautiful. And I felt like an Indiana Jones character or something with this, like, this belongs in a museum. But without the like British imperialism part about it, where I like steal it and put it in some centralized location. But rather, I find these things, these artifacts, and I bring them to the museum of the people who it belongs to, or who like really value it. So like, I felt like I was kind of returning this piece of history, this lost piece of history, to Ajahn Medprick's gym. He's in his 70s, and he's got like very, very faded magazines and stuff all around his gym. Like, most gyms will have photos of when they were in magazines and like in the ring and all these different things, but they don't have all of it. They didn't like keep all of it. And so finding this and framing it and giving it to him and putting it into the museum, the Hall of Fame of his own gym, felt really, really good. And that made me really happy. I wanted to talk about how happy that made me. We put a video of it. Kevin took some video and some photos, and it's on the Muay Thai Library page on the Instagram. So if you want to see the actual photo and a little bit of the gym even, you can go to the Muay Thai Library at the Muay Thai Library at Instagram. You can see that. Then the second thing I want to talk about is like deeply personal, but I think it also is helpful maybe, but important as a topic of talking about Muay Thai for people who care about Thailand's Muay Thai, or who might come to Thailand, or who might have Thai trainers. It's a Thai cultural kind of thing, and it's very ingrained into Muay Thai. So I'm going to start way back at the beginning, which is that my very first fight, very first fight was down in Richmond, Virginia. It was at the WKAs, so like nationals. It's my first fight, and I fought Paloshmi Pilo. She kicked my ass. Like, I was not in that fight in any way. It was not close. It was not a like, I did my best. Like, it was not great. But when I got out of the ring, and I was very disappointed, I was not broken, like I never want to fight again, and I'm so disappointed. I was very disappointed in myself. I was very hurt, not physically, but like Master K had come down to corner for me, and he like walked away from the ring during the fight because I was just not doing well. There was a lot to process. It was a very, very difficult but also very valuable experience. 2 of my brothers came down to watch it, which was pretty incredible. And afterwards, I think it was Jason, who was a coach at Church Street Boxing in New York, and I didn't know him. Like, we met down there. I didn't even know there were gyms in New York. I didn't know there were girls my size in New York. Kilo is from New York, so like I had no idea that the people I was fighting in this tournament in Virginia were actually much, much closer location-wise than Virginia. But so Jason Stroud, he was talking to me, or I think he was even talking about me to my husband after the fight, but he was like, you stayed composed, like you had very good composure. And he said something about my heart, and I was like, okay, that sounds good. Like, that's probably a good thing, but it's not like you did great. It's not like you had beautiful technique or any of these things. I've actually never been told these things, so ongoing trauma. Then when I fought in Thailand for the first time, which was my second fight ever, I did win my first 2 fights in Thailand, and then I lost my third one. And I can't remember when it was said to me, but maybe it was after my third fight when I lost, But it was said to me that I have heart, right? So in Thai, they're like, oh, you have great heart. And obviously this should be a compliment. Like, this sounds like a compliment. This sounds amazing. But to an insecure person, or to a person who's looking for a particular compliment, and that's not the one you're getting, and so you'll always just figure out like how this is a backhanded compliment instead of a real compliment. This guy wants to bite me so bad. You wanna bite me? Oh, he's a big one. Nope. I think it's kind of like if you're like a heavy woman and you're told you have such a pretty face. This is a compliment, right? But it doesn't feel like a compliment because that's the compliment you get all the time. And you're like, I will never be called just beautiful. It's always this like, you have a pretty face, or oh, you have such a pretty face. That's what this heart thing felt like to me. It was like, because you don't actually have skill, or you don't actually look good in the ring, or you're not actually dominant, or any of the things that I actually wanted to be told I was, being told you have great heart felt like a backhanded compliment. And it isn't. It just felt that way. And it's because I was looking for these other things to be said about me. So then I fight in Thailand a lot more. We move to Thailand. I start fighting in Thailand. And I start to kind of appreciate what heart means more because of how important heart is to Thais. They'll talk about how like heart is the number one thing and you can't actually teach it to anyone. A fighter either has heart or they don't. And if you have heart, you can be pretty bad and they can teach you to be much better. They can teach you how to fight. If you have no heart, they cannot teach you how to fight. You could be super strong, super skilled, super femur, but if you don't have heart, you will crumple when you're like put up against it. And there are fighters who are like this, who like, they just don't have the heart to come from behind, or if they get pressure put on them, they just kind of fold. And it's like, that's amazing, because like, they seem really good, but they just don't have heart. And the way Thais talk about it, I remember Krunu was talking about a fighter at the gym. I think it was a little Farang kid, who like his dad was making him fight, but he didn't want to fight, and so he was just terrible in the ring. He looked scared, he didn't want to be there, all this stuff. He was like, if this was a Thai kid, nobody would make him fight anymore. It's his dad trying to like force it on him. And he made this comment about not having heart, being like, if a chicken that you're trying to make fight doesn't want to fight, you eat that chicken. Like, you don't keep trying to make that chicken fight. And it sounds a little brutal because he's like comparing it to a child. But the idea was, you either have heart or you don't, and there's no like arguing about it kind of thing. And this kind of emphasis on heart made me think like, wow, this is probably a much bigger compliment, and I should really take it much better than I do, because heart is like this quintessential important thing to Thais. Like, it's the core element of things. But it still hurt my feelings that like I was not being complimented for technique, or like whatever the fuck it is that I want to be complimented on. And so this is what brings me to now, right? So I didn't like being told I have heart in lieu of being told other things that are actually much more superficial. And then I came to understand how important heart is, and I'm like, okay, that's good that I have heart. I know that I have heart. Recently, very, very recently, so in the past no more than 6 months, in the whole duration of these things happening, I have had 2 separate trainers who I admire a great deal, and whose opinions I care about, whose careers I think are amazing, and who I think know what the fuck they're talking about because of the amount of time they've spent in the sport and the number of kids and fighters and champions they've worked with. These are amazing men. I have twice been the thing that they are comparing other male fighters to. And this is the amazing thing, is that, again, the things that hurt Sylvie's feelings, the pains of being a Westerner and a woman and an older person, like all of these things that make me not fit in Thailand, these all hurt me, but these all make me what I am also. I will never be a Thai kid, like ever. I will never be a man. I will never be thought of as like, oh, you know, the sky is the limit. I've been told, if you were a man, which fucking hurts, or if they say, if you were younger, like, you could have these amazing opportunities, you could have this amazing career if you were things about you that you cannot ever be, because you can't ever change these things. Those things hurt me. The amazing thing about these comparisons of their fighters being compared to me is that I am not the thing that you compare something to, because I'm not the height of anything. So having Tapia say, my fighters, I wish my fighters were like you, I wish my fighters had this kind of thing, whatever. Something that he said to me was one of his fighters got knocked out, and he was showing me the video. And he, as we're watching it, and I'm like, ooh, like that was a nasty shot. He was like, that wouldn't have knocked you out. He's like, you would have gotten up. And in that particular case, I was like, I don't think so. I think that was a liver shot. I think I would not have gotten up from that, because I don't think that you appreciate that this is a liver shot. But his idea of me and what he was looking at in his own fighter was that he saw it as that his fighter just didn't want to fight. He saw it as a lack of heart from his fighter. I don't think that's the case with this fighter at all. I don't question this fighter's heart, but I think that you can get overwhelmed by things. You can actually not have the experience to know that you can recover pretty quickly within 20 seconds and be able to fight on, unless you've like gotten up and done that in training a bunch of times. Again, I think this was a liver shot, so I don't think anyone would have gotten up from that. But the point is, he was looking at heart rather than, you know, what was happening in this fight. And so it made me aware of, when Thais are watching their fighters fight, a lot of the things that they will attribute a knockout to is lack of heart. They're not fighting through that, as opposed to like, oh, Sue might die, like that person was too big, too strong, whatever. They'll be like, you didn't want to keep fighting, and so you didn't keep fighting. And it's fucking incredible to me that Tapia would look at a man and compare him to me and be like, you would not have been knocked out by that, you would have gotten up from that. And his like kind of, I don't know, feeling like he wishes that some of his fighters had a little bit more grit or something. I don't know what that is. But then, just today, so another fighter who I'm very familiar with, I'm not going to name names of any of these fighters, another fighter who I'm very familiar with, who I kind of spent lots and lots of time with, and I know to be strong and very dedicated and very obedient. I do think he gets scared in the ring, which gives him this kind of tenseness, but I don't think that he like backs out from fear. I think that he fights with a lot of fear rather than like failing from fear. So I have a lot of respect for that element of this fighter. But he got knocked out, and Ajahn Gimyu was there, and I was asking like, oh well, like, is he really hurt? Like, what happened? Was there a big injury, or like, does he have to take a lot of time off, or what is the thing? And Ajahn was like, oh, you know, it was just this small thing, like he could have gotten up and done more with it. And he said to me, and this almost made me cry, and might actually make me cry now because I'm not standing right in front of him, but he was like, he doesn't have your heart. He said, if he had even half, it would be enough, because he's very strong. And I was like, this is someone who literally has never seen me fight live, ever. Ajahn Gimyu has never ever come to any of my fights. He's only seen them on video, and he has seen me fight much bigger people. But the thing is, he's seen me train a lot. Like, he was at Pattaya when I was there, so he's seen me train a lot there. And recently he's at Rambaz gym, which is where I go to clinch in the afternoons. So he's seen me. You guys have been watching my runcast. You've heard about how fucking brutal my clinching at Rambaz has been this past month. He's been watching that. So he's been watching these boys just fucking rip me apart, and watch me tire them out, and watch me get up and like, okay, just gonna get my ass kicked for 40 minutes, but you do the full 40 minutes, you don't give up because it's tiring, whatever the thing is. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say I don't have a good heart. I absolutely do have a good heart, and I agree that it's like, it's a gift. You either have it or you don't. I think that you can strengthen your heart, and I think that you can hurt your heart. So there are things you can do to kind of like protect it and work on it, and like any muscle, like engage with it kind of thing. But I think that a lot of my steadfastness, or getting up, or like continuing through something even though I'm terrified or overwhelmed or crying or whatever the thing is, actually is a lot of things that I consider poor qualities in myself. They're things that I consider part of my complexes or my trauma or any of these things, is that I don't want to disappoint people. I'm hyper aware of people looking at me, and I have incredible shame. And so basically it's like, I would rather be knocked out, actually fucking out, unconscious, than feel the shame of these leg kicks making it so I can't continue this fight kind of thing. That happened actually to me with Nong Mem, and she ended up just giving up on the leg kicks, which was crazy. There have been times when I think that I'm gonna like throw up in the ring, just in my fight just now. I don't know what it was. Coming back to the corner after round 2, I was like retching. And it's one of these things where you just get through it, because God, wouldn't that be so fucking embarrassing to vomit on the ring? So it's like, you just like out of like shame and not wanting to disappoint people, and like the ulterior being so terrifying, you end up being really hardcore. Like, it's not, I don't think it's actually courage, but maybe that's what courage is. I don't know. Like, maybe there's some poet who actually wrote about it, and I can find it in that the correct form of courage is actually like being under incredible fear all the time. That's courage. I know you can't have courage without fear. It's not like there's this like Superman, like, oh, nothing can hurt me, therefore I'm not scared. That's not very powerful at all. That's like not very courageous at all if nothing can hurt you. I get that. But the degree to which these compliments are about like, if they were like you, or like this would not be you, or like you are this kind of pinnacle of this thing. And there is still this kind of like sad part to it, which is that I'm not their fighter. Like I'm not a young man who can go fight at, non-existent now national stadia, or I don't know, go on some program and become like a Yodmoy. There's no Yodmoy this year, which is amazing. I don't have that opportunity with who I am. But the fact that these men, and it means fucking something that it's men who have dealt exclusively in young boys and men, looking at heart and being like, that's the fucking diamond. Like, that right there is the thing that I want in me. I don't know, it's something that I find truly one of the most like honoring things that I have ever experienced, and also something that I don't actually feel a lot of fear about having to live up to, because it's like I don't actually try to be the way that I am. Like, it's not easy. I think that people think that things that come naturally means that you don't have any effort in it, and that's not true. Like, things that are natural to you can actually be quite difficult. I think that what makes it easy is not that it's like it requires no effort, it's that it doesn't require thought. Like, I don't have to think, oh no, I'm gonna be tough instead. I'm just not gonna fucking give up, because that's literally not a thing that can happen. I don't have to like think my way through it. My compass like kind of heads in that direction, and I would have to think my way out of it. Like, there are times when I have to think, you know what, I'm just gonna like cry myself into a terrible situation today because things are spiraling downward and downward, when I'm being really tough through something that's really hard for me, and I have to think my way to, it's probably better to stop now and not go in that direction and find a way to kind of like, steer the boat slightly differently. I have to think that way. I don't have to think about the like, I'm gonna get up, or I'm like not gonna be knocked down by this. And I think that's the kind of like your nature kind of thing, rather than it being something that requires no effort. It requires effort. It's very hard. Like, it doesn't come naturally in the sense of like breathing, for example. You physically have to use muscles to breathe all the time, but you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remind yourself to breathe all the time, although you are like actively breathing all the time. It requires effort. It requires you to like move muscles in order to keep it going. You just don't have to think about it. Nobody's like, oh, I forgot I wasn't breathing. Unless something insane happens, like you're watching a fight that like is so super exciting, or you're in a fight and you're like beyond your head kind of thing, and you're like, oh, I'm not actually tired, I'm just not breathing. Like that kind of reminder kind of thing. And so the reminder is to get back to what is actually much more natural to you. So yeah, I think that's incredible, and I hope that I keep thinking about these things, or like keep them close to my heart in a sense of like, I honestly really thought that being told I have a good heart, Jai is what they say in Thai, which also means like you're a kind person. But like if you're a fighter and they're like Jai, or they say Jaisu means like your heart fights, like you have a fighter's heart. And this is incredibly important in Thailand's culture of Muay Thai, is the fighter's heart. And I don't know, like the examples that I'm talking about of these two men who they were compared against me as like, they just gave up, you wouldn't have done that kind of thing. These were fucking hard situations. These were not like, oh, that was very weak, he just laid down. Like I've seen really bad situations of people who like literally just don't want to be there and they lay down. That was not what this looks like, which I think reveals to me how much the Jaisu, like the having the fighter's heart, the like you will push through anything, is maybe why entertainment Muay Thai has its grip, the grip that it has right now, is that when you don't really know, because people don't know Muay Thai as well as they used to. Like in the golden age, the average viewer of Muay Thai actually really knew Muay Thai really well. They knew what they were looking at. They were like educated sports fan. If you're an American football fan or a basketball fan, Kevin loves basketball. He knows so much about like technique and strategy and fucking scoring and all this stuff. Like you're an educated person in that sport. Muay Thai used to be like that. And now it's not that way anymore. But when you have entertainment Muay Thai, which is technically and strategically hideous, like it is not a skilled sport often. Sometimes you get very good people in it, but often it even just like dumbs down the skills of those people because of the rule set. What you are seeing is a Jaifu situation. So you're paring it down so that you're watching someone who like, I will fight through anything. You're putting them in a situation that's like, I will fight. And that's so important to Thai people that maybe that's a slightly more beautiful interpretation of why people want to watch it instead of just the kind of like bloodthirst that is, you know, also accurate in terms of people wanting to watch more and more brutal exhibitions. But yeah, so if you get the compliment that you are Jaidi or Jaisu or that you have a good heart, fucking hold on to it. That is not a backhanded compliment at all. That is a front and center, beautiful compliment, and it actually means a whole lot.